Koala Smart. What will you do to save the koala? Koalas, one of the most beautiful, loved and recognised animals in the world. These gentle and fascinating creatures are a true symbol of Australia. Did you know that they have been around for more than 5 million years and that there are records of giant megafauna koalas that were the size of wombats? Imagine the branches needed for one of those to sit on. Koalas have co-evolved to live in the harsh environment of Australia's eucalypt forests. Koalas are also really important to Australia's economy. Did you know that koalas are so loved across the world that they bring $6 billion each year to the Australian economy and $50 million each year to the local economy by tourists wishing to see one? Did you know Australia has the highest rate of extinction of mammals in the world? More than 10% of mammal species have been lost since the arrival of Europeans. This extinction means that beautiful creatures that once lived in Australia, such as the pig-footed bandicoot, the lesser stick-nest rat, and of course the Tasmanian tiger, or more properly the thylacine, have completely died out. Unfortunately, this isn't just something that happened back in the olden days. The bramble K. melomes was only declared extinct in 2016, and scientists have predicted that yet another 7 mammals are at risk of extinction within the next 20 years. Shame, Australia, shame.
Did you know our koalas are disappearing? And can you imagine a world without them?
Why are koalas disappearing?
G'day, I'm Shane, Clinical Director of the Port Macquarie Koala Hospital. And this is Rebecca, our koala ecologist. And we want to take you on a journey to understand why we're losing our koalas. Why did the koala cross the road? Believe it or not, they don't sit in trees sleeping all day. They do move around to socialise, to look for food resources and to avoid the more dominant males. Unfortunately, we now live in a world where roads are everywhere. And koalas are not actually crossing the road is crossing through their habitat. Wildlife corridors are used so animals can get safely from A to B. But all these new roads are now dissecting and cutting through wildlife corridors. Koalas like this male tend to get hit more on busy roads where people are driving really fast. In our region, up to 150 koalas a year are hit by cars. That's a lot of koalas. Signs like this one are meant to alert motorists that koalas are in the area, but most motorists ignore them. Where are the signs in your areas? Do you know where they are? Fauna fencing, which is exclusion fencing, is used to stop animals getting on the road, but it's very expensive and also requires a lot of maintenance, and it's not always that effective. There are also underpasses that are used for roads, but koalas are tree-dwelling animals, they're not wombats, and it takes them a long time to learn to go and use underpasses.
Did you know that 80% of koalas that get attacked by dogs die? Unfortunately, the majority of these attacks don't occur by wild dogs, but by people's family pets, like this little guy here, who sadly isn't going to make it. Along the east coast of Australia, much development has occurred in areas of the best koala habitat. This means that today many family homes are located in areas with remnant koala populations nearby. As koalas like this guy move about their home range looking for food or a mate, they can enter people's yards where dog attacks can frequently occur. Many new areas of housing developments have rules that prevent dog ownership to prevent this from happening. But sadly, many people choose to ignore these rules, resulting in attacks like this one. Surely we can do something to prevent this problem. What can we do?
Koalas suffer from diseases, and these diseases tend to happen more in what we call disturbed habitats. And these disturbed habitats occur where humans are also wanting to live as well. And these diseases manifest in things such as blindness, or reproductive disease where they're rendered infertile, or they can even die. This is all caused by animals being pushed closer together, or even further apart, and there's pressure on resources such as food and trees, and even more pressure when they've got to move long distances to try and seek out food. Scientists are working very hard to try to come up with cures for these diseases by developing vaccines and better drugs, but this is a long way off. What can you do to help? Koalas like to sit in the top of trees, and as you know, they're not particularly fast and they can't fly. This means that koalas are unable to escape bushfires, and any hot fire that burns the tree canopy or the leaves not only takes away their food source, but also means that they can suffer bad burns and die. Unfortunately, climate change predictions suggest more hot, dry days, which will increase the likelihood of severe fires into the future. What can we do to protect koalas from bushfires?
Habitat loss for human development is the number one reason that koalas are declining. Clearing of koala habitat for houses, roads and shopping centres and so on is the primary cause of the loss of koalas. Unfortunately, not all bush that remains is koala habitat. It takes the right combination of trees and soils to sustain a decent-sized koala population. Today we are out radio tracking a koala, affectionately known as Keith, who is part of a scientific study into what makes good koala habitat. We're close to Keith now. Here's Keith, safely tucked up sleeping. How can we work together to make sure that the remaining koala habitat is safe into the future? And more importantly, that it is large enough. Males, such as Keith, need home ranges that can be as big as 100 hectares. That's the size of 100 football fields. How can we make sure that all koalas, like Keith, have the chance to live in such large, unlogged, untouched areas of habitat away from the threats of human development? And how can we protect these areas from clearing into the future?
Here we are at the Port Macquarie Koala Hospital, where they treat koalas that have been hit by a car, attacked by a dog, burned in a bushfire, or are generally sick or injured. Here is Shane treating Toby. This koala is in because he is being treated for chlamydia, otherwise known as wet bottom disease. Luckily for Toby, with antibiotics and good care, he will be okay and will be released back into the wild once recovered.
As the ecologist for the Koala Recovery Partnership, I'm doing a range of things to try and help koala conservation. We're working with scientists and undertaking research. We're working with the community to achieve better on-ground conservation outcomes. And we're working with government to look at policy and planning. What can you do to help koalas?
Here at the Koala Hospital, we do lots of things to try to save our koalas. We buy land, we plant lots of trees, we do a lot of research, but most of all, we care for our koala patients. We really need your help. What can you do to help save our koalas?
Oh, goodbye bunyip blue gum, goodbye blinky bill, and beautiful little Nutsy. I can't believe it, our koalas are all dying. Can it really be a national disaster, a world catastrophe? Oh,
Thank you for joining us today to learn about koalas and the many threats that face them. We look forward to seeing the amazing ideas your school comes up with for your Koala Smart project.